I'd like to take a moment here just to remind our viewers, because people come and go during the course of the debate on television, our forum. Republican Tom Foley has elected not to take part in tonight's discussion of the issues. We did stay in contact with Mr. Foley's campaign right up until this evening. They declined our open invitation to participate in this forum, and we will be reminding you of that from time to time as new viewers come in. Mr. Visconti, you did say something that kind of piqued my ears a little bit when you said, because Tom Foley's not here, I feel the need to explain certain things. Under any circumstances in the days leading up to the election, would you drop out of this race and throw your support to Tom Foley?
I don't believe at the present time that I could help carry him over the finish line, Jerry. So if I considered it, I don't think that could happen. The governor's here tonight speaking about Tom Foley a lot. I wish he would get back to some of the issues, the questions that are going to come to some of the issues that I'm speaking about, and that's spending. And so, although Tom is a nice idea to hit him because he's not here, I really want to avoid that the rest of the evening and focus on what's important. One of the things that I like to focus on are tolls. There's been a lot of debate about tolls and the border tolls in the state of Connecticut. We've given this a lot of research and looked at it a lot, and what I have suggested is that we put tolls in Connecticut on the borders, and we look at a program where all W-2 workers that are working and commuting in New York, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, can have a sliding scale deduction on the tolls because they're commuting daily. There's a lot of money to be made from people that are coming through from other states, enjoying the roads in Connecticut, wearing them out, and I believe that money should be put into the transportation fund, tied into road construction, bridges. It's time we do that. It's also important as a contractor for me to convey that we need to do that with the DOT, something that can be done on the borders of New York especially, without tying up the roads while we actually put the toll booths in. This is important because this is transportation.
We hope to get to tolls and infrastructure transportation.
I don't want to lose the time and not get.
Are you in it until election day?
Of course
that was the question. Okay. Max?
You didn't ask me. I'm in too.
Well,
you guys mentioned cuts a moment ago. Mr. Visconti, you did say that you would make some cuts. So I guess to each of you, as succinctly as we can, what would you cut if you became governor? You said there were some services that the state's done very well. What would you cut?
Well, with the Metro Alliance in Hartford, the governor can brag about that. We put money there for business development. The best business development is low taxes, low regulation, and lowering our spending. So there's areas there, even some of the arts, and I'm an actor also, so some of the arts are going to need to suffer, which is bad to say. Most politicians aren't going to tell you that. Tourism, everywhere we can that takes away from education, from the disabled, from veterans, everywhere we have to decide, the legislature and the government have to decide, what are we going to do in Connecticut? How do we get out of this? But if you don't believe there'll be a tax increase, if you don't believe there's $4.8 billion coming down the pike with a built-in $300 million revenue growth, if you don't believe those things, you'll say don't cut anything. So my idea is also to identify and work with the legislature to identify every grant, every program that is not essential to those needs, put them into a lottery system, and have the legislature actually hold public hearings on them and decide by lottery what has to go without affecting necessary services that affect those populations.
Governor Malloy, do you think that any cuts will even be necessary in the next budget?
Well, the numbers that Mr. Visconti is using are 3-year numbers based on increasing spending by 7.8%. I haven't done that as governor. I wouldn't do it as governor. We've kept spending increases under 2.8%, actually less than 2.8% on average, 2.4 in 2013. Sure, decisions have to be made, but they're not cuts in the sense that we're going to eliminate aid to municipalities to pay for firemen or policemen or teachers. We didn't do that in the worst of times, and quite frankly, times are getting substantially better. I do support the arts. I do support tourism. Before I became governor, there were maps being printed of New England that did not have Connecticut in it because we didn't pay our dues to the tourism industry that promoted New England. I'm proud that we're seeing rapid increases in tourism in the state of Connecticut. In fact, the job numbers in tourism are out of this world, substantially higher than they were before the Great Recession. Why? Because we're participating in advertising again. And that pays for itself. The reality is that the additional income coming in as a result of increased tourism is in fact paying for that whole program and much more. And we have made important investments in Connecticut in technology that will allow us to save money. When I became governor of the state of Connecticut, and Nancy was sworn in with me, our DSS, our Department of Social Services, responsible for spending about 16% of all of the money government spends, was operating on a technology platform with an effective age of 1989. Even though the federal government had been offering states 90-10 money, 90% of their money to replace those systems so that we could catch fraud, so that we could cut down expenses. No work had been done to implement that system, and I began a rapid race to make sure that by the last presidential election, we would be able to lock in that 90-10 money. You know what? We did. And that system's being replaced today. And as a result, we've already caught $75 million in fraud and overpayments and recouped those dollars. Our goal is to actually collect $120 million this year. So we are making the kinds of investments that will, in fact, lower our costs. We've already shrunk state government. Everybody knows that. And we're going to do other things to make sure that we don't have a tax increase, that we preserve the safety net, which was, after all, what I said we needed to do. And we'll work on this together.